everyone. Sorry I haven't made a video in weeks. I've been under a lot of pressure, and mainly because of this exam I've had to do. So I mentioned this in passing, I think, in the last couple of videos. I'm doing an online course in building surveying, and I had to retake one of my exams. Basically what's happened is I had to produce this dissertation, this thesis on a topic of this research project on a topic of my choosing. So I made mine about the World Trade Center towers. I could probably make a separate video on that, but anyway, I failed the exam the first time I took it, so I've had to retake it. And I'm just getting ready to resubmit it again. It's due in June, but my family have been putting a lot of pressure on me to make sure that it's done and dusted before then. And anyway, when I get like this, when I'm under a lot of pressure, I tend to become a lot more withdrawn, and I tend to talk to other people less. But for now, it looks like I'm in the clear. But anyway, I wanted to give you all sort of general life update on what's been happening with me fairly recently, because I'm going to be moving house. So currently, I live in a town called Woking, which is in Surrey. Now, how would I describe Woking? Well, a lot of people like to dunk on Woking, saying that it's a dump. And to be fair, yeah, it is kind of a dump. But I've basically lived around here for as long as I can remember. Some of my earliest childhood memories are me going to the Big Apple bowling center with my dad and my siblings, and we'd do some 10-pin bowling over there. So I have a big sentimental attachment to this town. But we're going to be moving to the Isle of Wight. And the reason we're moving house is, well, one of the big problems with Woking, as is the case with a lot of places that are sort of close to London and all those big metropolitan areas, is it's pretty expensive. The average house price is something like that's on the lower end, by the way, 300,000 to 500,000, and that's for a standard size house. And for years we were struggling to pay the family mortgage. So we figured what we would do instead is we'd move further away to the Isle of Wight, where my mother's family lives, my grandparents on my mother's side. And ever since my father passed away, God rest her soul, my mother's felt increasingly lonely and up against it. And at times like this, you need support. You need support from your family. And it's a beautiful place where we're moving to. I don't want to give too much information on where we're going to be living, but it's in the middle of the countryside. There's a pony farm short distance away. There isn't really much in the way of shops, though. It's mostly quite residential. There's a couple of churches, but I don't even know if they're still in use. Not that I'm not even a Christian anyway, so really I'd only be interested in those buildings in terms of what they historically connote and how good looking those buildings are. There's a pub that's a short distance away, and that's good for me because I like pubs. And it's going to mean a new start. Also, I say we as a family are going to be moving there, but the truth is, I have two sisters and a younger brother. My older sister is in her 30s. My younger sister is in her 20s. My younger brother is in his mid-20s. But they're all going to be in a while. I don't know how long exactly, but all of them are pretty much going to be split off from the family doing their own thing. My older sister's moving to London. My younger sister, she's moving in with her boyfriend. and my younger brother's gunning for a job, one of those big software engineering jobs, probably in Japan. Well, that's what he's aiming for. It remains to be seen as to whether he'll actually manage it. But he's a very smart guy. He's very good with computers and with technology. He loves video games, so it's the kind of thing that really I feel like it's the kind of job he deserves. So it may well be that within a few months, I might be the only one still living at my house with my mum. And you know, my mum needs company. She needs someone to be around and listen to her and talk with her, and well, someone's got to take up the mantle, I guess. So that's those are the two main things that are going on in my life. So I'm retaking an exam for a module that I failed. If I succeed this time, I will have my MSc in building surveying, and we're going to be moving to the Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight's a very nice place. It's a very small island. It's roughly, I think, around 100 square miles. I don't know exactly. I'll have to go on Google Maps and find out the exact calculations. But it's an island that's very small. If you ever had one of those, what are they called? Those nightlight, those little globe lamps that you keep on the bedside table next to your bed, and you ever look at Europe and where England and France is, chances are you probably wouldn't even see it because it's so small. I don't even know if you'd be able to see it from space, but in the English Channel, between the English Channel, a few miles out from the mainland, from Portsmouth and Southampton, and the passage of sea between the English mainland and the Isle of Wight is called the Solent. And some of my earliest childhood memories are of me staring out across the Solent from the back garden of my grandparents' house, because my grandparents, my mother's parents, they own a really nice house that overlooks the Solent. My grandfather on my mother's side of the family, he was a very accomplished and a very respectable and dignified individual. He used to fly the Concorde, if you can believe it. He was incredibly hardworking. He's the kind of, I think it's a damn shame that I never grew up to be like him, but he's always been historically the patriarch of the family, and I have immense respect for him. And it's great that we're going to be moving over and living close to them, because we'll get to visit them more often. And both of them are in their 90s, and they're both 92 years old, each of them. And one thing I should make clear is, as far as I'm aware, nobody in my family or my extended family, not one person has ever lived past the age of 94. So I don't think that they're not going to be around for much longer. So I'm thinking, I've already decided, I'm going to be conducting a series of interviews with them and asking them questions about their lives, the kinds of things that they did when they were around, and what they think about the world. Is the world a better place now than it was back when they were growing up? Oh, and I should also tell you that both of them were born in the 1930s, so they were both refugee children during the war. They actually have memories of having to duck and hide underneath pianos during the Blitz. It's very, very surreal. It's I think they must be at least they're 3 whole generations removed from us, and currently not one person in this country has actual, certainly nobody of my generation, nobody actually knows what it's like to be in a country that's at war. Although that may well change given the way things are going with our government and with the Russians, because our government's trying to get us involved in this silly foreign conflict over Ukraine, which nobody really wants. But anyway, I digress. I have immense respect for my grandparents because they're from a totally different generation. They grew up in times of relative economic scarcity. They grew up in a time where they had less, and they didn't need more than what they had. And it's difficult for me to put this into words, but I feel like one of the reasons why we, us and the younger generation, why we're so much more mentally unstable, why we're less happy than our forebears, is because our lives have become complicated by the overabundance of material goods, by all the changes that have taken place since then, because our lives have become so much more transient and unpredictable. What everyone needs to live a good life is, this has been hotly debated by intellectuals and by sociologists, but broadly speaking, what we need is stability. We need things to work out as we expect them to. We need rules, we need structure and order, and though that structure and order needs to be maintained. But we don't have any of that nowadays. We live in a society that's completely crumbling. Like, I saw this video by the British Lander, and yes, by the way, as you can see, I'm recording this from a selfie stick while taking a walk. So it's, you can tell I've been pretty much mimicking his video format, going out on walks, recording videos, doing video logs about the state of the UK. But anyway, I think I recall, at least within the past few years, so many people have all been arrested for expressing views in public, most of which are to do with the Israelo-Palestine conflict, which, by the way, I really feel quite neutral about. But the main takeaway from his videos and if you ever spend any time reading the news is that it's just not clear what you can and can't say in this day and age that won't eventually get you arrested. You really got to watch what you say. And that reminds me, there's this woman who's currently serving jail time, Lucy Connolly, because she said something quite daft on Twitter. She wished all those, I should have brought a raincoat, shouldn't I? Anyway, she expressed she expressed the view that all the migrant hotels should be set on fire, which obviously disavow. I don't condone any buildings being burnt if there are people in them. But you got to understand that this was in the context of an outbreak of rioting over a maniac killer demon hellspawn who just went around killing young children with a knife just for the pure fun of it, it seems, who's currently serving prison time. And more recently, he attacked one of the prison wardens by throwing boiling hot water all over him. In the grand scheme of things, what she said, it was an indiscretion. It wasn't a real incitement to violence. And there's no evidence to say, by the way, that any of the rioters were directly influenced by what she had said anyhow. But anyway, she is being punished. She had her appeal denied by this Lord Justice for what evidently appears to be political reasons. essentially what's going on is she's being punished not because of the views she expressed, but because of what she is, because of what she represents. So we live in a very dangerous time. If you're deeply unhappy with the government, which the vast majority of British people are, certainly, you got to watch what you say, and you got to be careful of how you phrase it. Anyway, I love my grandparents. I can't wait to see them again. They're the nicest people in the world. Probably the reason why they're the nicest people in the world is because they had to go through so much in their early lives. They had to go through food rations, bombs dropping down, destroying all their houses, being evacuated to the countryside. I think even in their time, people were still dying of diseases that have since been largely eradicated, like tuberculosis or diphtheria, things like that. And I imagine that's another thing. Exposure to things like death and the fear of death. This is a thing that people have talked about, mortality salience. It's one thing to casually read read the newspapers and read about somebody who's been stabbed to death, but to actually witness it, to actually see someone die, I feel like it changes you. It transforms your perspective. It makes you realize that, well, death is inevitable and it's only a matter of time before it happens to you. And to be mentally well adjusted, to remain sane, you need to have a balanced perspective of life and death, because the two are inseparable. You can't truly have one without the other. But I feel like in this day and age, because of the advances of medical science that we've had, we've basically made death illegal. People are living way longer. People are outliving their biological expiry date. If that's, forgive me if that's the blunt way of putting it, but all these diseases like dementia and arthritis, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's. These are diseases that we never used to hear about because most people just wouldn't live old enough to reach them. Who wants to live forever? As far as I'm aware, I don't have any history of Alzheimer's or dementia in my family, but if I did, I already mentioned the story I have of this one guy who I've known for quite some time, who's had to care for his father who's suffering from late stage dementia, and it's absolutely damaged him psychologically. He doesn't want to have children because he doesn't want to perpetuate the cycle, the fear of growing old and then one day forgetting your name. So who wants to live forever? Yeah, the point of life isn't to live forever. I don't even know if there is a point about life. Maybe I should make a video on that too. I don't really know what my thoughts are on life, but I feel like modern life, for the most part, it's very unnatural. And we've taken something that's neither good nor bad, but we've convinced everyone that it's good, even though, for the most part, with our own experiences, it's not innately good. I don't take the view that life's innately good or innately bad. It's neutral, like we assign a value to it depending on how strongly we feel about that. But it's not clear what life is meant to be about. Shit, that reminds me, there's a few stories in the news that relate to this that I want to make. I probably will in the next video, but anyway, that's another topic for another day. So I just wanted to make this vlog to talk about my life as a general life update and other things. And I'll see you guys later. This has been Trekking.